It's great to be here, looking forward to the stories. And she asked me, because our family, we don't celebrate Christmas, we celebrate a different holiday. And so she asked if there was a song that I was comfortable singing. And I thought, yes. So, oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of your dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and pining, till it appeared at our dear Savior's birth. The thrill of hope, the weary earth rejoices, for yonder lays a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angels' voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine.
Thank you. I actually asked her to sing about 2 minutes before she came up. So, thank you for being such a great friend and such a great supporter of what we're doing here. Our first storyteller, we are making a little switch. Our first storyteller is Devon Farmer. And Devon is going to share with us what Christmas really is all about. Please welcome Devon.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, for the warm introduction. Now, Christmas is about family. Holidays are about family. Special times are about family. And during this time season, I would like to say happy holidays wherever you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or Christmas. Happy holidays to you all. Now, let me get into my story. When I was little, my mom used to bake and cook on Christmas Day and on Thanksgiving Day. But as we grew poorer, I saw the true meaning of Christmas, which is about family. It's not about what you get or how much a person spends on you. It's about family. And that close unit of family has brought us together. All here in the name of family. If not, I'm correct.
Yes.
All right now. When I was a teenager, me and my mom were bumping heads. She used to kick me out, but it was for my own good. She's ex-military, so she handled the military well. But that helped me out. Because then it started disciplining me. Also, she was worried about me, so she didn't let me stay out too long. But I remember one Christmas when I was a teenager, my little sister helped me out. She gave me some money because it was Christmas. I thanked her. Then when I became 21, me and Mom started bumping heads again. So she helped me find my own place, a housing program. She helped me fill out all the paperwork. Thank you, Mom. So now I got my own place. And the third time, I was late on my bills and stuff like that, so my brother and sister helped me out. That's all I have to explain. Sorry I'm so short. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yes.
And Mom, could you stand and
That's one of six.
Trey Shore was one of our storytellers at our November storytelling. And so I asked if any of her family would be interested in being on being one of our storytellers for December. And I'm so thankful that Yvonne stepped up and agreed to be one of our storytellers. And what a great way to start our storytelling program. It really is all about family. Not just family that have the same blood, but those that we call family and accept as family because we love them. Now, our next storyteller, Margaret O'Neill, Margaret and I met at storytelling. And so she and I are working together. We've become partners in a way. And she's going to share with us, yes, Margaret, there is a Santa Claus and the legend of...
All right, my first story today is called Yes, Margaret, There Is a Santa Claus. I was in 2nd grade, and Mama came to pick my sister, who is older than I am, and I up from school. And Mama said she could tell, coming to the car, I was upset. She didn't know why, but I was obviously upset about something or other. So when we got in the car, big sister rides shotgun, Margaret gets in the back seat. Mama turned around to me, and she said, Margaret, what's wrong? And since this is a small area, we will refer to my best friend as she who shall not be named. I said, Mama, she who shall not be named has told me there is no Santa Claus. And that, Mama, that's wrong. There is a Santa Claus. And my sister remained very quiet because she was smart. And Mama said, Margaret, do you like believing in Santa Claus? And I said, yes, I believe in Santa Claus. And Mama said, well, you go on believing in Santa Claus because there is a Santa Claus. And I worried all the way through Christmas. I was so worried about there were going to be no toys, there was no Santa Claus. What was I going? It was horrible. And she who shall not be named kept up with it. But Mama just kept telling me, just believe. So the night before Christmas, we put out the milk, we put out the cookies, and we had a big fireplace, but we put them next to, the tree was across the room over here, and then we went to bed. In our house, Christmas Eve, not even a mouse stirred. So we went to bed, and the next morning, I got up, my sister got up, we ran down the hall, I looked around the corner into the parlor, I skidded to a stop, and there, coming out of the fireplace, were snowy footprints. Big, snowy boot footprints. And they led to a pile of toys. And then they turned around and they led back to this chimney. And Mama said, this look came over my face. And I remember I turned around, I ran back to that phone in the kitchen, I grabbed that phone off the wall, I punched in that number and I yelled, she who shall not be named, I told you there was a Santa Claus, and slammed that phone down, and then I went and looked at my presents. And that was my wonderful mother who was right there, who kept And then the other story I'm going to tell is actually a legend. I'm sure y'all all know there are many, many legends of how St. Nicholas came about. There's the St. Nicholas in Italy, there's one of Poland, and I'm going to tell a story about a bishop named Nicholas who lived in the city of Myra in Asia Minor. And Nicholas was very, very well loved by his people. Every day he would take his white horse and his servant Peter, and they would go out around the town. And they would hand out toys and candy to all the boys and girls. They also liked to help the sick, the poor, the needy, and of course everyone in the town noticed this. And Nicholas was very well loved, and people started referring to him as a saint. Now the other thing Nicholas really liked to do was to listen to travelers returning from foreign lands. So one night the good bishop had a traveler over. And the traveler said, "Bishop Nicholas, I am going to tell you about Holland. I have just returned from there. Holland is beautiful. The cities have waterways that stretch through them. The houses are round huts with thatched roofs. The children, they have broad, smiling faces. And oh, the harbors are full of ships with grand white sails. They come from all over." Excuse me. And Bishop Nicholas thought to himself, "I think I'll go to Holland." So he clapped his hands and said, "Peter, get the ship ready. We're leaving tomorrow for Holland." So he did. The next morning they loaded a ship with toys, candy, sugar plums, Peter, the horse, because the horse went everywhere, and Nicholas. And they set sail for Holland. Now, I'm sure all of y'all know that sailing in the winter is dangerous. At the best of times, it's dangerous. And they got to sea, no land in sight, and a horrible gale blew up. The rain was cutting down. The waves were rocking the ship back and forth, and the wind was about to blow it over. It was doom. And the sailors were crying, "We are going to die, we are going to die." But Bishop Nicholas remained calm. And he said, have faith, everyone. And with that, he knelt down on the deck and he prayed. And the rain stopped. The winds became gentle. The waves carried the ship but did not toss it. And the rest of the trip to Holland was fine. They arrived in Holland on December 5th in the morning. And when they got off the ship, Peter, the horse, and Bishop Nicholas, the whole town came out to see them. They knew that this was something special. They had never seen anything like this before. They wanted to touch the beautiful white horse with his two baskets, and they loved looking at Nicholas's, I'm sorry, my mouth is dry. They loved looking at Nicholas's nice, kind face under his mitre, and they followed him all the way to the town center. When he got to the town center, he started handing out the candy and the toys to the children. But before he would hand them to them, he would say to them, "Have you been a good child this year?" And if the child said yes, he would turn to the parent. "Has she really been a good child this year?" And if the parent said yes, Nicholas would give them the toy and the candy. But if the parent said no, Peter would make a switch at them. And those children were so scared they would run and hide behind their parents' skirts. Well, the whole day was a celebration. They feasted, they sang, the children brought carrots and hay for the horse, and it was just, everyone was happy. And the bishop was like, "I really like Holland. I'm going to return here." Later that night, after the townsmen had gone to sleep, the bishop and Peter were out exploring the town. And they became a kind of grand house, a beautiful house. But from outside the house, you could hear crying, heartbreaking, rending sobs. And Nicholas turned to Peter and he said, "Peter, stay here. I'm going to go look through the window and I'm going to see what is going on." So he climbed up to the window and he looked in. And there were two girls sitting on the floor, crying their eyes out. There was no fire. There was no furniture. So Bishop Nicholas went back to Peter and he said, "Peter, these So the Bishop Nicholas crept back up to the window, and when he put his ear up to the window, he heard the older girl going, "What are we going to do? We have gone through all the money Father has given us. We have sold all our furniture. We have to leave the house tomorrow and we have nowhere to go. What are we going to do?" And the second younger girl said, "Do not worry. Let us pray to God about it." And with that, Bishop Nicholas backed away and he told Peter what he heard. And later that night, very much later, the bishop and Peter returned to the house, very quietly. They looked in, the girls were asleep on the wooden floor, and Bishop Nicholas took a bag of gold and very gently he laid it on the windowsill where the girls would see it when they woke up in the morning. And they turned to go back to their accommodations. But as they were walking back to their accommodations, they saw a hovel. That was the only way to describe it. It was a hovel. The poor people looking inside of it, there was not even a fire coming out of the chimney place. And once again, Nicholas said, "Peter, I must help these people. They are so poor they do not even have a fire. But look, there are no windows. The only door is closed tightly. How can we help them? We have to help them." And Peter said, "Well, Bishop, climb the roof and drop gold down the chimney." And Bishop Nicholas said, "Peter, that's a very good idea." So he did. He climbed the roof and he started dropping gold pieces down the chimney. And miraculously, every gold piece he dropped, the children had hung their stockings by the fireplace. And the gold pieces landed in their stockings. The next morning, the children got up and they looked at their stockings and they cried, "This is a miracle! It is a miracle of God!" But one of their neighbors told them the truth. He had seen the bishop on the rooftop. So the entire town turned out to look for the benevolent gift giver and Peter and the white horse. But the bishop's ship was gone from the harbor. But December 5th of the next year, Bishop Nicholas and Peter and the horse returned. And every December 5th, they returned to Holland to give the boys and girls toys and candy. Well, eventually, of course, Nicholas did die and he became a saint. In fact, he's the patron saint of sailors. He's also the patron saint of the city of Amsterdam, and the largest cathedral there is named after him. They have a feast day, and it's called, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, Sinterklaas, which is Dutch for St. Nicholas. And Sinterklaas is also where we get Santa Claus from. And to this day, on December 5th in Holland, boys and girls, rich and poor, take their shoes and put them by the fireplace full of carrots and hay, and St. Nicholas comes to visit them.
Thank you, Margaret. That was beautiful, beautiful. We don't have a fireplace. Where do you think I need to hang my stocking? So that there'll be a few gold coins in it.
By the windows.
By the windowsill. So I'm going to move my two stockings by the windowsill. Maybe I'll just crack the window a little to make it a little bit
Make it easier for him.
Yes, yes. Our next storyteller, Walter B. Hollins. Walter lives in Hancock County. Walter has lived in many interesting places all over the world. Places most of us have only read about, like the Navajo Nation, like St. Lawrence Island, Vietnam. But what makes Walter's story really special is because he lives in Hancock County because of stories he grew up hearing from his grandmother. I always knew Hancock County was a special place. but to be so moved by stories that you hear growing up, that it influence the decision of where you'd like to spend your retirement years. That's the power of the stories that we tell. Please welcome my really good friend, Walter Collins.
Once upon a time, long ago, in fact, 1.2 million years ago, give or take a couple 100,000 years, a volcano erupted on the floor of the Bering Sea off the coast of Alaska. And it was a shell volcano, which means that the lava was very liquid, and as it came through the cracks, it slowly spread out. And over the years, it continued to build up to an island. And that island is called St. Lawrence Island. I prepared a handout for you, and you can see where it is, off the coast of Alaska, and in fact, very close to Russia. About 500,000 years before the eruption of the volcano, we witnessed the first major migration out of Africa. And that migration followed the coastlines around India, Asia, China, which is now China, and north to Siberia. Then, about 20,000 years ago, the first migration reached Siberia, and at that time it was a glacier, and that was a land bridge between Siberia and Alaska. And the early migrants came across, went down through northwestern United States, down into Mexico, South America. So that particular migration, we have the Navajo Indian, the Apache, the Mayans, the Aztec, the Mayas, and so, say again? Oh, okay. So we see the nation, the Indian nations of North America and the cultures of South America. Then a second migration came across. And this migration started probably about 5,000 years ago. It came across a land bridge, and part of that land bridge was St. Lawrence Island. And as the tribes or migrants moved across, some of them settled on the island. And as the water level rose, St. Lawrence became an island. And that was home to the Eskimo that speaks a language that we call Siberian Yupik. Fast forward, 1975. I made my first trip to St. Lawrence Island. My objective was to build a safe water source, potable water, for the Eskimos of St. Lawrence Island. St. Lawrence Island has two major villages, Salunga and Gamma. That was an interesting experience for me because I was able to sit down with the village leaders and talk about what it is that they really needed. Not necessarily what they wanted, but what they needed that we could produce. And when I say we, I was then an officer in the United States Public Health Service in a division called Indian Health Service and a subdivision of environmental health. With our focus was to improve the environment in which the native Alaskans lived. A very interesting challenge. You know, there are a lot of jobs in your life, but that special job that you have, where you look yourself in the mirror in the morning and you're very pleased with what you see, this is the type of job that is. I met a lady by the name of Anna Aloha. Anna Akia Aloha. She was a very open-minded, progressive. She also was the village nurse. Their healthcare, the major healthcare entity was located at the Native American Indian Hospital in Anchorage, Alaska. And what the nurses would do would help the doctor diagnose by phone, really, and say, this is the symptoms and these type of things. And if necessary, then the hospital would dispatch an airplane to pick them up and bring them to the hospital if it's warranted. Or on some occasions, the doctors would actually go out to the various villages. One of the major problems was infant mortality rate. Over 50% of the babies born would perish before age 5. So our challenge was to significantly reduce that infant mortality rate. Anna had a son, and his name was Timothy. Timothy was a very progressive minded. He had spent time away from St. Lawrence Island in training as a National Guard, Alaskan National Guard, Army. Timothy and I became very good friends. So he would share with me things about the culture, and the people, the history. Now, I'm going to pass these items out. They're a little heavy, a little bulky. Now, walrus is one of the main food sources for the Eskimo. And this is a walrus. This is a male tusk. This is a female tusk. This is a carved ivory, carved by a carver from Salunga. All right, just pass these around. Just touch them to say that you did touch something. This is another piece of ivory. This is fossilized ivory. Remember me telling you about the land bridge? Well, when the water level rose, some of the villages were submerged. Timothy Allah did exploration at those remote sites, diving, and he gave me this as a gift. This is a piece of fossilized ivory. It's probably 1,000 years old. This is called a yuzu. He knows what it is. This is the penis of a walrus. And it is considered a anyway, it's an item that is very much cherished by the female Eskimo. She carried, this is a special gift to her. And the walrus, after the walrus gives up the food, this is carved, put ivory on the end, and it's a special gift. Timothy, after giving me that piece of ivory, and that piece, and the carving, you can see that we were very good friends. One thing about the Eskimos, as generally true with all cultures that you come in contact with, is that if you respect them and you trust them, they will reciprocate. And Timothy said one day, why don't you, the next time you come out, why don't you bring your gun with you and we'll go out on the ice floe and shoot ducks. That sounds like a pretty good idea. And I thought about that. And I agreed. The next time I went out, I carried my gun with me. Went out on this ice floe. This is a piece of ice that's probably an acre inside, and it's moving south at about 10 knots an hour. So he dropped me off on this island of ice as it was moving south. And I think, well, I hope you come back and pick me up, you know, because I can't swim that far. And he did, of course. And we got ducks. Another thing, which is a special offer, he was the captain of his whaling boat. A special honor. It is akin to almost a religious leader. Because the whale is also a prime source of food. And if you notice in the handout, on the food source, you see a partially butchered whale. I think it may be the last page or next to the last. He invited me to accompany him, which is a great honor. I respectfully decline. But I thought about that later. Maybe I should have accepted. But one day, we were on the top of a building. And we were to develop a water source. But I thought that, hey, let's do something a little bit special for this village. One of the things that create health problems is clean clothes. So we said, let's make a laundromat. And I don't know what page it is, but you'll notice that on one of the pages, I have an arrow pointing to the first laundromat in a Native American village in Alaska. Well, we were sitting on top of this building, eating lunch. And Timothy said to me, and I will never forget it, he said, you and I are the same. And I thought, yes, Timothy, Tim, we all God's children. He said, no, I don't mean that. He said, come. So I accompanied him to his mother's house. And he introduced me to his grandfather. His grandfather was African American. And I didn't fully understand because he spoke only Siberian Yupik and did not understand English. And of course, I barely mastered the English language, so I didn't even try the Siberian Yupik. But what I found out later was beginning in 1848, whalers on the whaling ship went into the Bering Sea to harvest whales for whale oil. That was very pricey commodity. And many of those sailors on that ship were African Americans, blacks. So after about 1860, in that time frame, the blacks on the whaler ship said, no more. We will not go back to where we came from because it is a land of oppression. So we will stay here in your villages and become part of your culture. And that is where Timothy's grandfather came. If you go to Alaska, there's a village called Point Hope, Alaska. Point Hope, Alaska, a lot of my brothers got off the ship. And it is reflected in the physical appearance of the Eskimos. Needless to say that particular job on the St. Lawrence Island influenced my life greatly. It gave me a different view of who I was. And if you ever have the opportunity to live or visit another culture, look at yourself through their eyes, and I guarantee you'll see a different picture of yourself. So my experience with the people of St. Lawrence Island, the Eskimos, the Siberian youth, has been one of fantastic. There are many other things that we could talk about, but I don't want to abuse my privilege. Thank you very much.